Good morning.
Morning, Padmashree.
Good morning, Alex.
So, but have you dropped everything what we discussed on Friday?
But I am doing continuous meditation, yes. I can't say well, I have dropped everything.
Okay.
Awareness is much better.
Okay, so what we need to do now is that we need to drop the GV. We need to drop the Jagat. Okay, now what I mean by Jagat is that every identification we have, you have to drop it. So let's say your name is Bhatt, that you have to drop, and there is Lata, and there is Padmashree, there is Vilas. All the four has to be dropped in the mind. What you should take it as like a GV, which is truth, actually. Then only the Annamaya Kosha, we can really experience Annamaya Kosha, how Anna works, the food gets digested and what happens after that. If you take it as a Jagat, then it becomes very difficult, meaning we will get attached to the food and other things. So we just have to make it as a GV, because in 74th verse the fourth line is about GV, experiencer, bhoktuhu. So if you go to the 74th verse, it is all about that, experiencer. If you say I am the experiencer, it is the GV who is experiencing it. It is not the consciousness which is experiencing anything. So the thing that has to be sorted out with this Vivekachudamani or the Viveka is to understand that who is the enjoyer and who is the witness. The enjoyer is the GV, and the witness is, or Sakshi, is the consciousness. So that becomes Ishvara. So that's what we need to do, and we need to go beyond that personal Ishvara into the Parameshvara. Okay. So for all the four of us right now, before we even start, we need to leave the Jagat aside. Now, what is Jagat would be just name and forms, that's all. The designation, the titles, and the identification, all of that is Jagat. The role is treated as real, but it is unreal. So just like yesterday evening in the class, I was saying to people who were there that at my home there are 3 GVs, 3 beings. There is no husband, wife and child, but that is real. The real here is there are 3 beings, and the 3 beings are coming into existence because of their karma, and they are going to leave this body after their karma is over to be in that body. So there was never existing a person called as a husband, never was a person existing as a wife or as a son. The Jagat here is that I have a son, I have a wife, and I myself exist. So I am the husband of the wife, and I am the father for this son. In true sense, there are only beings. There is no father, mother, and son, if that being looks at it. And if I look at it, there is no son and no wife, because that is the title. And what's the role? So now there's only role what is being played by the being. It is not the person there as a person. So if this much of clarity has come now with so much of discussions about Bhagavad Gita and other things, so we are ready to take this. So now we start with the 72nd verse, which talks about what does this body consist of, meanings what does this GV consist of. So from now onwards it is all about GV and Ishvara. The entire Vivekachudamani ends with completely removing the GV and Ishvara and going beyond that. So that is Aparoksha Anubhuti all about. So the assumption we are making now is that you have understood what is Jagat. Okay, so I'm again cautioning that if you keep Jagat, then this will become another intellectual exercise for us, and you might not experience whatever Shankara is indicating in this document. So practice diligently about what is Jagat, what is the world. World is just name and forms associated with 5 senses. When you sense something, you say something about it, and that's all what it is. But what is that which exists right now in all of us is the Jivi, the Jiva. That's all what exists. So now we go into the Jiva. So this Jiva consists of Majja is the bone marrow, Asti, bones, Medha, fat, Pala, flesh, Rakta, blood, Charma, skin, Tvag is the epidermis, Ahavyayaha, Avyayaha is that known by these terms, Dhatubihi. So there are 7 dhatus. So the 7 dhatus, we will go through each one of them. We had gone across that earlier, but it is better to go again. So the first dhatu is the rasa dhatu. So this is dominant by the water, Apo. So it circulates nutrients, hormones, proteins and all that, and that is what is also called as plasma. Rakta Dhatu has the Tejo or Agni as the primary element. It is red in color due to Pitta. It helps the Jivi by transporting oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. Then the third one is Mamsa, which is also called as flesh. It includes all tissues and everything, and it relates to strength and stability of the body. So it gives the shape and structure to the body, Mamsa. So the elements are Jala and Prithvi because it is solid. And then Medha. Medha is solid and very firm. It is yellow in color because of the presence of fat. Just like what we have as a ghee or butter, it is of the same color. So in the entire intestine we can find the Medhas. Asti is the bones, and what it does is that it gives the framework of the Jivi. And Majja is actually bone marrow as well as the nervous system, and that governs the metabolic process in the brain and the spinal cord. Shukra is the essence of all the dhatus, and it is responsible for continuation of the life, vitality and energy, which is nothing but ojas. So the menstrual blood, which is Arthava, and the man, the semen, the sperms and the semen is what is formed out of Shukra. So until the menstrual cycle gets over, the woman is very strong and ready to bear the child, because that shukra is required. So all the essence of the dhatu is there. After she gets into the menopause, and few years after menopause, it starts to destroy. So the woman becomes really fragile, with all the bones getting into porous. So she will lose the bone mass and all that. Same thing happens at a man at the age of 65, 70, when the shukra, the semen dries up, and then the body starts to decompose because the shukra no longer is there. So this is what this body in the sense that the jivi has. Ebihi anvitam pada uru vakshaha ubujha prishtha mastakaihi. Legs, uru is the thighs, vakshaha is the chest, ubujha is the arms, prishthabhaga is the back, mastakaha is head, angaihi, these are the parts, upangaihi, subparts, upayuktam etat, they are unified to form in this body. Now the question comes, who is holding it? It is not held by the jivi, but it is held by Ishvara. All of this manufacturing is done in the presence of Ishvara. So the jivi has no power to do anything on its own, which we will come to know as we progress. So first and foremost, the names given like bone marrow, bones, fat, flesh is the Jagat, just for identification. But in reality, it is only Prithvi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. That's all. That's all what it is there. Even that, if you look at that dhatu, Rasa dhatu is Jala, Rakta dhatu has Agni and Jala, Mamsa dhatu has Prithvi, Jala, that is Jala and Prithvi, Asti has only Prithvi, Majja is Prithvi and Jala, and Shukra is Jala, Prithvi, Agni, all the three taken together. So what we really find is that it's just elements. We might name it like this as Jagat, but the jivi, what really, when I say there is this jivi who is talking right now, is only this much. Then we come to the next step of identification and the subtle element associated with it in 73. Aham mama iti pratitam shariram. With the words I and mine is denoted all that is connected with this body. Now sharira is not body. Shiryate iti sharira. That which keeps on disintegrating moment to moment is sharira. So unfortunately in English we write it as a body. It is nothing to do with the body. Body is not sharira at all. So shiryate iti sharira. So the disintegration is happening moment to moment. There's not even one moment where the body or this sharira has not disintegrated. What is the meaning of disintegration? Disintegration is the movement. The cells are moving, the blood is moving, the plasma is moving, everything is moving. So there is integration, disintegration, integration, disintegration happening every moment. There's no two moments the body has remained the same. But I and mine is connected to this sharira. So when I say I am doing this, what that person means is that sharira. Mohaspadam sthulam iti iryate buddhaihi. It is the moha which talks, because it is of gross nature. Iryate buddhaihi. Those who know it, they say that is the seat of delusion. If somebody is saying, I am doing this, first thing that the person, I look young, let us say somebody says, I'm going to a gym and I have reduced 5 kgs of weight. What should you say to him? If you keep it as Jagat, there is a person and he has reduced 5 kgs. If it is a Jivi, he has no authority to reduce the 5 kgs. Because when the 5 kgs increased, it never asked him a permission, shall I increase? So he cannot then make a comment that it is he who has reduced 5 kgs. And it is due to Ishvara, the sweat, that is this what we call as sweat, the jala, he has kept on reducing in the body. So the weight is reduced. So jala, which will pull out the prithvi also, so the solidity is also removed. And due to the heat, that is Agni, due to consistent burning, the fat, Medha, will also reduce. So it's not that he did anything about reducing the 5 kgs. In the Loka Rudi, transactional world, if somebody says I have reduced 5 kgs, you should say very good, oh excellent. If somebody says I have got a salary hike of 20%, oh excellent, but there is nothing called as a hike in the GV. That hike has come because of its own karma phala, nothing to do with he did exceedingly good to get that 20% hike. So conventional truth, Loka Rudi, is that you appreciate, but internally you should not take it. Because whenever he says, mine, I have done this, I did that, I sent an email, I followed up with the customer and I solved the cases and this and that, it is this gross body which is speaking. Because the sound is coming from the gross body. But the sound exists irrespective of the body exists or not. Just like I am talking, the sound exists irrespective of this body sitting here. So just because this body is there, this sharira is there, the sound is seemingly coming from this body. So there is no person who is speaking actually. It is only the sound which is coming. So if I have that much of clarity, it is very good. So he says that Nabhavat Dahana Ambu Bhumayaha, space, air, fire, water and earth. Sukshmani Bhutani Bhavanti Tani. These are the subtle elements. These are Tanmatras, with which everything is coming. So 74 words talks about how these things happen. So Parasparam Shaihi Militani Bhutva Sthulani cha Sthula Sharira Hetavaha Matraha Tadiya Vishaya Bhavanti Shabdadayah Pancha Sukhaya Bhuktaha. So Paraspara Militani, the Tanmatras will then get attached to the sense object which is called as Panchikarana. And and become the 5 gross elements Sthulani. The original Mahabhuta is, which is undivided or unattached, is Nabha, space, Nabhavat, air, Dahana, fire, Ambu, water, Bhumayaha, earth, which is there in everything. But when they become a dhatu, they become gross elements. Mahabhuta becomes something like earth, hard, something like water, flowing, something like fire, burning, something like air, the respiration and the digestive air and all that. Then something like space, so which the Jivi is going to occupy. And Sthula Shariraha Hetavaha, they all come together to form this Sthula Sharira. Matraha Tadiyaha, from the gross element also, Vishaya Bhavanti, sense objects happens. So when I say sight, what is required? For sight, light is required. So I require Agni. Without light, nothing can be seen. So if I'm saying that I'm seeing something, it means because of the light. So if I want to hear something, space has to be there, without which I cannot hear a thing. Like that. That means again it is 5 elements. So whatever we are calling a sense object is also 5 element. So what we are really consisting of right now is only the 5 element. So the Jivi is consciousness with 5 elements. And then it has senses to sense that 5 element. It is all the narration of the person. If you were to say who is this person, that is all what it is. 5 senses, 5 elements, 5 sense impressions, or the Vishaya, 15 of them presently. Shabdadayah pancha sukhaya bhoktaha. The 5 sense organs leads the sense objects in for the enjoyment as an experience. So if I say that I am experiencing something, then I am perfectly wrong. Because what is the experience is just this gross. Any question till here? Or shall I continue?
You can continue. It is clear.
Okay. Now why do we come? Why do we have rebirth and different bodies? Yeshu mudha vishayeshu baddha rago rupa shane ragau rupa shane sudrudamena ayanti niryantyartha urdhvam uchaihi swakarma dutena javena nitaha. So yeshu mudha, the thoughtless one who are vishayeshu baddha, are bound to the sense object. Now how do we do the sense object? We do the sense object by naming them. A girl comes in, there is no girl, actually a Jivi comes in and named as a girl, and that girl is further named are identified as a daughter for one person, and a wife for another person, a friend for another person, a mother for another person. Now the sense object has taken different rupa, but it is only a jivi. It has got no girl feature, no boy feature, no husband feature, no wife feature, no daughter feature, no son feature, no friend feature, no enemy feature, and all that. But the mind doesn't listen to that. It listens to the Vishayas. And a Vishaya create this interest or disinterest, both. The interest here is to possess. Whatever looks good, I need to have it. A home looking good, I need to buy it. A site looking good, I need to buy it. And something like that. Somebody is giving me higher salary, I need to take it. This is all the Vishaya is all about. So it's already bound. And not only it is bound, Raga Rupashena. Pasha is the putting oneself to the thread and pulling oneself. So Raga Dvesha Moha is beautifully connected with it. Sudramadena, Sudramena, and very difficult to cut it. Ayanti, Niryanti, Adaha, Urdhvam. They come and go through birth and death. Adaha, up. Urdhva, down. Towards heaven or towards hell. Uchaihi swakarma dutena javena nitaha, as determined by their own powerful karmas, which carry them with compelling force, either up or down. And now he talks about how the man is bound to this body. Shabda, this is a beautiful verse actually. Shabda dibihi pancha bhireva pancha kuranga matanga patanga meena bhringa panchatvamapuhu swagunena baddaha naraha pancha panchabihi anchitaha kim. So some creatures, he gives 5 creatures, have just one of the 5 senses which are very sharp. So he says Kuranga is the deer, sense of hearing. It has such a nice hearing that it can understand where the tiger, where the lion, or where whatever is there. But the Kuranga also has a habit of attaching itself to sweet music. And when they play the music by the hunters, the deer walks in there and gets trapped. Same thing with elephant. Sense of touch is extremely strong in elephant. And that using that they trap the elephant for its tusks by the hunter. Moth, sense of sight. It circles around light and dies of dizziness. And fish, sense of taste. It keeps on eating. It is easily trapped by setting up a bait of tasty worms. Sense of smell is great in honeybee. Drawn by the fragrance of flowers, the honeybee falls a prey to this sense and get caught. Now if these 5 senses One of them is very strong, and this is the state. What is the fate of a human where his all the five senses are very strong? That is his question by Shankara in this verse. Kuranga by the sound, elephant by the touch, moth by the sight, fish by the taste, honeybee by the fragrance. Panchatvam apuhu, they were to get into the death easily, into the elements, basic elements back. Swagunena baddaihi, because of their slavery to one of the senses. Naraha panchabhi anchita hakim. Where is the relief for a man who is attached to all the five senses? And because he is attached to all the five senses, only humankind can create something called as loka. Because now he can name anything he wants and create a rupa out of it, where the rupa doesn't exist. Like in the case of mine, the husband rupa is created when there is no husband who is there as a rupa. The son rupa is created when there is no son as a rupa. The wife rupa is created when there is no wife. Only that exist in this home are three jivis bound by their karma. That is all what exists, nothing else. But because we have named it as son and wife and husband, the samsara carries on, because it is the five strong senses which makes this grasping possible. Actually, it is impossible to grasp because the senses are so strong that it can easily grasp the wife. Now, when I have a wife, I need to celebrate anniversary of our marriage and birthday. If it is just a GV, how frightening it is that every year gone, that person is near his death. But because that Jagat exists, we celebrate birthdays and we really have a good enjoyment feast for birthday. But when the person dies, meaning when the consciousness moves away from this body, that we call as a death day. Actually should be other way around. You need to cry when birthday is there, and you need to weep when, you need to laugh or smile when there is death day. Because at least he has crossed over from this gross body to somewhere else. So, just because we call it by names like this, there is a great deal of attachment. So what we need to practice from 72nd verse is to observe what is this GV consist of. So today what you need to do is, you need to just look at your body from head to toe and see what is that you are called as a GV. You have to do this exercise 73, 74, 75, these three for the whole day. That will tell you where you are going, whether you are going down or you are going up. In the 75th verse, he talks about it. Adaha urdhva. So we need to practice this for today. This is the work to be done for today. And we need to see the danger in each of the sense organ of 76. And he gives another one in 77. Doshena tivraha vishayaha. Krishna sarpa vishad api visham nihanti bhuktaram drashtaram chakshusha api ayam. doshena tivraha vishayaha. There is defect, tivra, exceedingly high defect in vishaya, to its extent that krishnaha sarpa vishadapi, venomous than the most poisonous snake, cobra. Visham nihanti bhuktaram, for a poison to work, one has to at least swallow it. Thus, whereas in this senses, drashtaram chakshushaha api ayam. Now the person who comes into the room, immediately I will identify it as my wife. So the visha has been taken. There is no respite for me, because just by one look with the eye is enough to trap one for life. Now I am trapped. The moment, at present in this room only I am there talking. The wife and the son are not here, or the other two beings are not here. But when they were to open this door, and whoever the first person comes there, instead of seeing them as a jivi, I am going to see them as wife or son. That is sufficient enough to kill me, because I have identified through the eyes. Now if they talk, I am identifying by the ear. If they touch, I am identifying by the touch. And I remember the smell of these two beings. Okay. And I mentally taste them. So all the five senses are there, beautifully intact. So what I should practice? When the room door is opened, there is only jivi, no wife and no son. Simple. As many times as the door opens, or as many times I open this door and go out and talk to them, I am talking to a jivi, not to the wife. So I don't have a wife. Same thing, I have another jivi who is called a son, but I really don't have a son. If I can practice this, liberation is guaranteed. This is the practice what I need to do, because that is the real. Otherwise the sense organs will immediately identify it as the wife. And when I see another girl or a woman or whoever walking, then I recognize that as a pretty woman or a not so pretty woman, or fat woman or a lean woman, tall, short, all that will happen. Same thing with a man, tall fellow, lean fellow, fat fellow, all that. Neither anybody is fat or lean or fair or dark or whatever. It is just a skin color. There is no person like that. There is no person like fat fellow. Only that the medas is increased in his body or her body. There is no person called tall. It is the bones which have really grown like that. So if I am able to see like that, I am really able to establish the jivi instead of jagat. So the idea of doing this is to eliminate the need of jagat, because jagat is mithya, Brahman is satya. So this is the practice what we need to do. Now he talks about the terrible bonds of the desires, Vishaya, Asha, Mahapashad, Pashadho, Vimuktaha, Sudushtajat Yaha Vimuktaha स एव कल्पते मुक्तैः न अन्यः षट् शास्त्र वेद्या अपि Vishaya Asha Mahapasha, the terrible bond of desire for the sense object. Sudashtya Jat are extremely difficult to renounce. Yaha Vimuktaha, he who has liberated from them. So eva kalpate muktaihi na anyaha, he alone becomes worthy for liberation and none else. And there are 6 philosophies in Hindu. So first one is these are called as Shat Darshanas: Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, Vedanta. So in the Mimamsa, it is Purva Mimamsa. So these are the 6 darshanas. Nyaya is a huge one. Vaisheshika, Sankhya. Sankhya is by Kapila Muni. Yoga is by Patanjali. Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta. Okay, so these are the 6 things what we have. So Shankara says that even if you are an expert in all the 6 philosophies, Shat Shastra Vidyapi, you have well versed in all the 6 schools of philosophy, but yet you are bound by desires. So 79th verse, he talks about dispassionate, apparently dispassionate. Apta vairagyavataha mumukshun, those who have only apparent dispassion, they seems to be dispassionate, even if they are desirous of liberation. Bhava abdhi param, and wishing to cross the ocean of samsara. Pratiyatum udayatan, begin to undertake the journey. Asha graha majjayate, they get drowned by shark of desire. Antarale, in the middle of the ocean. Nigrihya kanthe vinivartaye vegat, they are caught by the throat, violently turned around and dragged back to samsara. So some people suddenly show the trait of being dispassionate and they think that they've already won over. But it is wrong, because the body consciousness is so strong, it can pull back to the starting point of the samsara. And in the verse 80, he talks about who is truly dispassionate. Vishaya khayagraho yena suviratyasina hataha sagachati bhavam bhavam bodhehe param pratyuhavarjitaha, he by whom the shark called sense object is destroyed with the sword of mature dispassion. Sagachati bhavam Bodhehe, he safely crosses the ocean of change and reaches the other shore, Param. Pratyuhu Havarjitaha, without any kind of obstacles on the path. So we had to look at from 72 to 78 for practice, and the other two 79 80 shows where we are, and we are now in 81st verse. It all talks about the senses. Vishama Vishaya Margaihi Gacchataha Anachha Buddhehe Pratipadam Abhiyatah Mrityoho Api Esha Viddihi Hita Sujana Gurutyah Gacchataha Svyasya Yukta Prabhavati Palasiddhihi Satyam iti eva vidhi. The dangerous path of the sense pleasure, one who walks, it is a man of foolish intellect. At every step, he is overtaken by death. Api esha vidhi, at least understand this. Hita sujana gurutyaha, but the well-meaning path of the noble teachers. Gacchataha swasya yuktaha, one who walks with swasya, that means completely cured. Yuktaha, knows why is he walking in that way. Prabhavati phala siddhihi, yes, but
No, it says the first two lines, or first line. It says, if you go along with your wishes first, then your this bad buddhi, through your bad buddhi, finally you will be reaching mrityu.
correct.
That's what it says.
Correct.
Second line says, with the sajjans and gurus, then your own yukti, then you will get to your moksha.
Correct.
So what is this first line meaning? That mrityu is following you means what? What is this mrityu here?
Mrityu here is that the senses, sense and sense object is the mrityu. It keeps on taking you to new births. See, what is the birth? Birth is the five senses. There is no other birth than the five senses. You'll get eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. That is a mrityu. So the objective here is to cut the senses and the sense object.
So jnanendriya is a mrityu.
Yes. That is the shark.
But through the same jnanendriya only you are getting the jnanam.
No, you are throwing out the jnana indriya and its object. And because you are throwing it off, there is no connection with the mind and the senses. And because of that, now the mind has to follow the consciousness.
So jnanendriya means it is getting the knowledge about those five tanmatras, right?
Yes.
So that is bhautika, that is not useful. Understood?
Yes.
But for doing this, our meditation, we have to interact with the Guru and we have to acquire jnana.
Correct.
There also we are using the same jnana. For example, chakshu, shravana, and all that happens.
Yes, you are initially doing that.
But if you cut, you will not get those also, right?
No, you are initially doing it and then dropping it off. So manana is without those 5 senses.
So initially getting you are okay. After that you should drop it.
And in the nididhyasana, there is no senses at all.
Yeah.
So you don't.
Manana means you have that manas.
Only the manas.
You don't need manas for nididhyasana. Mind is not needed.
It is required. So what you're doing is, I think we had covered it long time ago. Out of the 5.
Yeah, I know. But in this sloka, I just wanted to.
Yes. So in this sloka, what is happening here is that the 5 fingers what we have, the last finger is the Vishaya. Next to that is the senses. The middle finger is the mind. The index finger is the consciousness, which is Ishvara, and the thumb we can call it as Parameshwara, if you were to take it like that. Now first thing we need to do is to drop the Vishaya, that is Jagat.
Yes.
Now when you drop the Jagat, only the senses become operative. Now you need to know what senses are going to do. They damage the mind. So you have to learn the art of dropping it off, because that is what the death is. Okay. Now when we don't do that, what happens is it automatically pulls you back to Jagat. Because the senses are very strong. They exactly know what to pick up. So eyes knows to pick up sight. And the moment sight is picked up, immediately the mind jumps into it to say whether it is good or bad, because there is buddhi in that, in the mind. So mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, 4 of them will jump to find out who has come to the eye sense door. So it attaches with the Vishaya. Now what we need to do is to cut it. So using the consciousness, we need to cut the mind association with the senses. So the senses will no longer function. Now what happens is the mind doesn't have anything to sense. Just like when it goes to deep sleep, there is nothing to sense. So the Jivi remains as Jivi without Jagat. So when we are doing Shravana, yes, we are hearing, but that hearing is about how to cut the senses. So the Manana state, what happens is you are working out only with the mind, and that's the reason called as Manana. Mana. Nididhyasana is using the consciousness.
Manana means manana. That means no mind.
Manana means is to apply the mind, not no mind. To apply the mind. That means you will internalize what you have heard. So there again the sense objects are not there. The sense object are both are not there. And using that you are searching the nidhi. Using the mind. Nididhyasana means to pull out the nidhi, which is the treasure. The treasure is you, which has been unearthed so far.
Yes.
Otherwise it will again go back to the sense.
So the sloka says mrityu is a continuous. Don't get into the mrityu.
Yes.
Every moment there's a birth and death. The best example is Uchvasa and Nishvasa.
Not only that, but like I think we had done one Indriya thing also. where if you turn left, all the right objects fall down.
Correct.
So that is what is the Mrityu is all about. No matter how much you love it, when you turn your head towards right, all the items towards left are no longer available. It's there in your mind, but really it is
and Indriya will have very limited view, right?
Yes.
Very limited.
Yes, so that is the reason it is called as Mrityu. And the next life, whatever we call next life, is dependent on this life. So as much as I'm using the Indriyas in a particular way, that is the life I'm going to get in the next. Let us say I'm watching a lot of movies of, let us say I will look at a lot of violence movies. I love it. A lot of bomb blast and this and that and different kind of movies. I keep on watching. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, all of that. Out of 5 senses, 3 senses are completely occupied. That is sense of hearing, sense of seeing, sense of touching, which is happening in the mind. So that is deep impact. Sense of taste and sense of smell is not there. There is nothing to smell and nothing to taste, but other 3 are visible.
Yes.
And that is what is impression happens in the mind. So the Vishaya is about destruction, violence and other things. Then the senses are attached to that and it is loving it. So the mind starts loving that. So the consciousness make it to happen. So that enjoyer happens through the body.
Yeah, see, one difference I wanted to understand here through all this. When I am awakened stage, Jagrata Avastha, information comes through all these Panchendriyas, then applying the mind based on my vasana, and something happens, karma. During in the Sapna stage, that Sapna comes on its own, and it displays on its own, and it dies on its own.
Correct.
See, there is no Jagrata. But witnesser is there because I remember next day that because it's stored in the memory. So who makes that happen? In the Jagrata Avastha, I know that I am in the Jagrata stage, I am making it happen. And in the Sapna stage, who is making that happen? That what do you call that? The Sapna.
Manas.
So Jagrata Avastha also Manas only doing. Sapna also Manas only doing.
No, the Jagrata Avastha, it is a combination of Manas and the Indriyas.
Manas and Indriyas, Jagrata Avastha, okay.
In the Swapna Avastha, it is only the Manas. Shushupti, in the Shushupti, there is no Manas, there is no Indriya.
Correct. Deep, everything dissolved.
Yes.
I need to hold you for another meeting.
Me too. I forgot.
Oh, it is already 9:30.
Okay.
So we'll meet tomorrow then.
Yeah, interesting discussion.
Okay, all right. Me too
I
tomorrow.
was closing my eyes and I was talking to you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Shh.